How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, March 7th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Hope you guys are having a great week. I know it feels like we're holding on the most wildest roller coaster we felt in a long time. Mars is on its way to square Uranus, and the moon in Aquarius going to conjunct Mars as Mars is building towards this very intense square. And this is the last planet in Aquarius that we're going to have squaring Uranus. You know, Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. So that's when we know this is very potent. This is very powerful. And we really have to pay attention to what is really going on here. And there's a very clear message coming through our subconscious as this is happening with Mercury conjunct Neptune. So I think it's really important to look back to when the Sun squared Uranus, back at the beginning of February, the middle of February, right? We want to think about that time. It's like, how was our lives being shaken up and really tested at that time? You know, what kind of radical shifts and changes were coming into your life, and how was that affecting you? I definitely think now this is the final kind of pass of this, you know, and we got to also take into account that Venus and Mars and this moon in Aquarius is umbilically connected to Pluto. So this is connected to a lot of unconscious things, and definitely a lot of very deep rooted, possibly dark things uprooting here, right? And coming to light. You know, it's time to face the truth about what we really haven't been ready for, right? And that's kind of how Uranus works. It's like, it doesn't, ready or not, here it comes, right? So, and the outcome is always good, right? With Uranus energy, when things just kind of happen, or things just seem to like come to a halt and you have to kind of maneuver around it, or you're forced to make a change here, the outcome is always better, but it always seems at first like damn, like, why did it have to be this way, right? So the outcome is always meant to be in the end. And that's the message with this Mercury-Neptune conjunction that we're having as Mars is getting ready to square Uranus. And so the moon, right here in Aquarius, before it comes to conjunct Uranus, is going to square Jupiter. So, you know, I think a lot of challenges to our beliefs and definitely our values are coming up here, you know, and this is definitely challenging us emotionally to like redirect ourselves, you know, and find new ways to connect and find new ways to express our values. And, you know, like, I think even when we're coming to find common ground within our friendships, our connections, and the people that we're connected to, this may be just like saying, hey, you know, it's okay if we disagree on things. It's okay if we have different opinions and different beliefs, but we share the same common goal here. And that's what Aquarius is all about, too, is acceptance. Pisces also about acceptance. So there's a lot of acceptance being asked of us right now, because if we try to control things, we try to get too fixed, and it's got to be this way, especially with the moon squaring Jupiter, where we just want to force our beliefs and our opinions down people's throats and think that we're going to change people's minds. No, not when we have the moon in a fixed sign and Jupiter in a fixed sign squaring each other. There's no convincing anybody of anything right now. It's just definitely saying, hey, like, you know, like, either we share the same values and we share the same ideas about how we want to revolutionize the future and change things in our lives and in the world, or, you know, we have to agree to disagree, right? But I think we can learn from each other. I think there's a lot to be learned here with this moon squaring Jupiter before this Mars squares Uranus. So, you know, this is also looking back to when Mars and Venus squared Jupiter, where our values and our beliefs and our opinions were really tested. Definitely a lot of intensity in that moment over the past few weeks. I mean, this has been a long buildup here. This goes back to when the Sun squared Uranus and when the Sun squared Jupiter. This has been a long conversation playing out here. And Mercury also went through that whole gap as well, squaring Jupiter and squaring Uranus in Aquarius. So, well, Uranus in Taurus with Mercury in Aquarius squaring. So this conversation's been playing out here for a while, and we want to really look at how our beliefs and our values have transformed over a long period of time. And definitely with this Mars getting ready to square Uranus, it's going to be like, something is going to really trigger us in our lives. It's really going to have to take some action on whatever challenges are coming up here. And it's definitely connected to our beliefs and our values. And this whole conversation with Pluto and Jupiter, I mean, what are some deep unresolved things from the past that haven't really been acknowledged? Maybe where our beliefs and values are connected to. So, I mean, with this Mercury-Neptune conjunction, I mean, this is the conversation all week. This is kind of what's happening as we're building up to this new moon in Pisces. So the moon is about to come into its balsamic phase as it's going to conjunct Mars. So it's usually about 30, 40, 45 degrees away from the sun, before the moon gets to the sun. That's what the balsamic phase is. So when this moon conjunct Mars here today, this is when shit is going to fucking light up, and this is happening in the evening, but still, like, this is when things are going to really fire up here. And definitely, I mean, if we don't see some wild things pop off by tonight going into tomorrow, I mean, we may see more shutdowns or freaking internet shutdowns or cellular shutdowns or whatever, cyber attack. I mean, who knows? But we can count on something happening here with this moon and Mars together squaring around. I mean, it's a degree off, but still, like, with the moon coming here to activate that in its balsamic phase, in a dark phase. Yeah. And, I think it's been interesting with all these squares to Uranus, and we've seen a lot of the financial systems go crazy. We've seen the cell services get shut down, and we've seen social media stuff get shut down through these transits. I mean, I don't think it's been by accident, right? This isn't just some random happening. This is a part of some game playing out, right? Or what can be perceived to be a game. Or some sort of manipulation. You can definitely count, because it's like I said, this Venus, Mars, Moon is all connected to Pluto, and Pluto is behind all of this, and Pluto is in the shadows. Pluto rules the shadows. There's things going on connected to this intense square between these planets in Aquarius that we've gone through for the past month that are connected to some very deep things, hidden things that are in the shadows, right? And with this Mercury-Neptune conjunction, you can count that there is some deception going on. And that's the thing about Pisces. It's beautiful, it's magical, it's wonderful, it's spiritual. It can also be very deceptive with Neptune here. So we don't want to believe every word that's being said to us at this moment. We want to really gather the information and discern what is fact and what is fiction and come to our own conclusions. That is what critical thinking truly is. And that's what Aquarius does best. But, it's easy to fall for the spell here. There's a spell being cast with words, right? With this Mercury-Neptune conjunction. So if there are things popping up in your own life that are very difficult and challenging, especially with the people you're connected to, that's associated with your values and, your security, especially, it's Taurus, Uranus and Taurus. Like, with these intense squares to Uranus and Taurus from these Aquarius planets, it's like our security is definitely being a little rattled here. It can bring up a lot of insecurity, in many forms, financial insecurity, emotional insecurity, especially with the Moon-Mars conjunction. And it can definitely trigger some intense, action here. Mars can be brutal. When the Moon and Mars is conjunct, making a square like this, things can get a little gnarly. So, But, and I feel like I keep saying the same things here, like throughout this week, because this has been such a long buildup. But like at the end of the day, we really have to be operating on this higher frequency with these bodies in Pisces here. And the sun at 18 degrees now, there's Mercury, Neptune. It's like we want to be like being able to understand that whatever's coming through, whatever difficulty is coming through, it's for a reason, and it's for a better, higher reason, to feed us the information that we need to connect the pieces, to connect the pieces in our own lives, to connect the pieces in what we're trying to uncover about what is really going on, and especially in the higher realms of our world. When we're talking about Pluto and Aquarius and all these other planets in Aquarius, we're talking about the world, the world itself, the connectivity, how everything is connected, how everything is playing out. That's Aquarius. That's Uranus. And definitely it's being challenged right now. We've seen the whole like farmers thing happening in Europe, with all the farmers rising up. That's very Uranus and Taurus being squared by all these planets in Aquarius. Like, we're seeing people unify and finally say, hey, this is the line, and you've crossed it, and now we're unifying and going to stand together. Like, that's the heart of Aquarius. The heart of Aquarius. That's so ironic, right? Leo rules the heart. Aquarius, it's questionable. It's more mental, right? It's not necessarily from the heart. So I think today, it could be a very intense day. It could be very gnarly. So, we just want to keep operating on a higher spiritual frequency here, and know that everything that's coming through is meant for our own spiritual growth. Pisces is all about our spiritual growth. The sun in Pisces is where we evolve spiritually. It's where we go internal to rest and, be in touch with our subconscious. Our subconscious is so much more active than it will ever be at any point in the year. We have Mercury-Neptune conjunction, especially with the sun and Saturn in Pisces. Like, this is very, very high level subconscious activity here. So, every single night, every single fucking night, like, I just have so many vivid dreams every single night. And I have, fair amount of dream. I'm connected somewhat to my dream states, I'm Mercury 12th house, like, very much. If you have Mercury in the 12th house, you might as well have the Mercury in Pisces. It's, on paper, it's pretty much the same. But what I noticed is that, it comes in waves, When you look at the astrology, it's just like, wow, when you do have a period of very intensified dreams, or your subconscious is very active, but the synchronicities are very, very heightened and much more potent, and you're much more receptive to those things. Like, it's very much connected to Neptune and Pisces, or the 12th house. If you're having 12th house transits, you're feeling that as well, Or if you have a Mercury 12th house transit, your subconscious is very active. You see the patterns in the imagery more than you're hearing and seeing the words, right? So it's a very interesting dynamic with all these bodies in Aquarius and Pisces. Like, we are beyond the physical world right now. We are out of this world. We are out of Earth, and it can be hard to be grounded right now. We don't want to fall into chaos. We don't want to fall for the spell that we're being told from some screen, right? Like, there's definitely a lot of things going on and a lot of information to uncover here, but we don't want to fall for it, So you feel like someone's like spewing you some BS, like, you want to be very cautious about what's being said to you. You want to think about it. You don't just want to agree with things right away. You want to allow things to, run its course until you really make your conclusion or sign any contracts, especially with Mercury, Neptune conjunction. It goes both ways. Like, your dreams can be very alive and dreams can be coming true, or you could really be falling into some delulu stuff, right? So there is so much magic happening, and there's a very deep, dense, magical currents flowing right now. But you want to be as grounded as you possibly can, because it's really hard with all these planets in Aquarius and Pisces to be grounded. You want to, the best thing to do, I mean, channel it creatively. If you make art, you make music, you're a writer. If you're a writer right now, this is where you want to channel that, your most magical piece of work, right? It's this Mercury-Neptune conjunction. If you're some kind of creator, or, meditation, those are much more better avenues. But some people, they're going to be out partying and drinking and just wanting to get fucked up and check out and get lost in drugs or whatever. Like, this is not the time. It's all these Neptune bodies, all these Pisces placements right now. It's like, you don't want to be falling into that trap. It's very easy, especially with a lot of the chaos going on outside of us that we can't really control, that can feel overwhelming, and it can be hard to know your place in that, or in the world. It can feel like, well, I can't do anything about that, so I'm just gonna fucking, YOLO, right? You only live once. We can channel that in a much more healthier spiritual way, especially with Mercury-Neptune conjunction. So you want to take advantage of this creatively and spiritually, big time, and don't get lost in the chaos. Don't get lost in the delusion. Don't get lost in the, like, neurotic, like, shit, like, I'm so ungrounded right now. There's nothing I can hold on to. I don't even know where I'm at. I don't know who I am. Like, it feels like, it can feel like we're on such a spiritual high right now that we're losing touch with reality in a certain way. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but we want to channel it in the right ways, because that's when we're going to find the magic. And that's what Neptune and Pisces and the 12th house is all about. It can be hard to be in reality, but we want to channel that magic coming through in a very positive, powerful way. And this is a time to be doing that. Like, we're not going to see this again. We definitely ain't going to see this again. With Saturn, the Sun, Mercury, Neptune, with Mars squaring Uranus, and the Moon right before the new moon. We won't see this again. No. So, we definitely want to take advantage of this. Big time. And it's a beautiful energy. It can be very intense, If you're feeling ungrounded, do things that can help you, bridge the gap between your spiritual self and your physical self. And whatever that is, write it down. I mean, it's Mercury-Neptune conjunction. I think if you're feeling a little outside of yourself, write down what makes you feel connected to you and the world that you live in. With Mercury, it's like, it's better to say what's on your mind. It's better to write things down. It's not good necessarily with all these Pisces planets to just hold things in and just go inward and stay there. That's when things can get really neurotic and, a little over the top, with Pisces energy. And it can kind of just carry you, along with its own mission, into places that can be really weird and strange. So I think any way you can communicate to your subconscious and to yourself through your subconscious can really be helpful. Because I know there's definitely a lot of ungrounded energy right now. And if you have Pisces 12th house placements, you love this shit. You're used to it. You're used to this feeling, And that's the irony with these fixed placements with these Aquarius, Venus, Mars, Moon, Pluto, squaring over to Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter and Taurus. Like, that's the irony, is that all these Pisces placements, it's just like so far out of reality, and these fixed placements are just trying to like hold on to reality, and it's like, I'm good, right? Even though inside it's like, I am somewhere else, and I'm trying to understand that and trying to get the message here, And there's a big spiritual message coming through with Mercury-Neptune conjunction. And we want to have those channels open, and the Four of Cups here, I think, this is a very Neptune card to me. You can feel like you're lost, right? And you can feel like, damn, like maybe I missed that opportunity. Maybe I missed out on, something that you wanted to be a part of. And it's like, no, like you actually did the right thing. And now the right things are starting to show up in ways that are beyond you. This card is very much like a great way to look at synchronicity, right? Anytime I personally had a synchronistic moment, I'm feeling lost. I'm not knowing where to go. I'm not knowing what to do. And all the sudden, like, the right thing shows up at the right time. Like, that's the Four of Cups to me, right? It's very much just keeping the door open and not closing yourself off, even if you're feeling lost. It's easy with this Neptune Mercury conjunction and the Sun in Pisces. It's to feel a little lost right now, and it's a little cloudy, right? But we don't want to get too down on ourselves because we have all we need right in front of us, which is the good news. But also the good news is that more amazing things are going to show up as long as we're maintaining a healthy lifestyle, which is hard to do with Pisces placements like this, and not get caught up in all the wild, weird shit, like focusing on what is actually good for the soul, Pisces and the 12th house is all about being connected to the soul. And when you are really trying to connect with your soul and understand your soul and understand the messages that the synchronicities are trying to show you, this is when the right things show up out of nowhere. And it can seem out of nowhere, but really it was connected to our own divine path, which we all have here, Nothing is random. The Four of Cups reminds us that nothing's random. Everything shows up at the right time and gives us what we need in the right moments, as long as we're doing the right things and staying on track and listening, really listening. Right now with Mercury and Pisces, it's not necessarily about speaking or saying. It's more about listening and being open and hearing and absorbing the information and letting the subconscious filter and do its own work, right? The right things are always going to show up at the right time, even when shit gets super intense like it is right now. And coming into this new moon, it'll feel very refreshing. And with this new moon that we're coming into, this new moon in Pisces, it's after Mars will square Uranus. Well, it's all kind of happening at the same time, but, and then after Mercury conjuncts Neptune. So, we're starting to understand how things are really changing in our world and in ourselves and in our being and in our unconscious that's connected to Pluto. Because all these Aquarius planets are very much connected to Pluto, and definitely the very deep spiritual subconscious message that we're receiving during this new moon in Pisces that's coming from Mercury-Neptune conjunction. So we definitely want to keep our eyes open, our hearts open, and stay on track and stay healthy as much as we can, and hold on. Like I always say, every time we get into these intense Neptune transits and Pisces planets, it's like you gotta know how to surf. I'm not much of a surfer myself. I do live in California, but I actually can't go in water, which is a whole nother conversation. I can't put my head underwater. But metaphorically speaking, when we're having these Neptune placements, it's like we gotta surf the wave. We gotta ride these waves as skillful and beautiful as possible. Because if you watch a surfer surf waves, it's not just the fact that they're blazing along a wave, right? It's how they do it. It's the style. It's their form. It's it's very much more about kind of the passion and the uniqueness that they put into it. So when big waves come up that we need to ride and surf, find your own unique way of doing that. And that's also very Mars square Uranus, is finding your own unique way, breaking free from the mold, breaking free from the status quo, right? I think that's what's happening at this moment. You know, we're evolving spiritually, but we're also breaking free from the status quo. You know, we're seeing that happen across the world. You know, people are waking up more than ever. And I think that's good news. It's just crazy. Like, I think back to 2011 when Neptune came into Pisces, and that's when the light bulbs really started going on for me. And I don't mean with astrology or anything like that. I mean just being able to put the pieces together of what is really going on and what's been going on, you know. And it's ever changing. Every year there's a new perspective to be had. But I think when your eyes start really opening up and you really start being able to put the pieces together, back in 2011, when Neptune came into Pisces, people would call you nuts for, you know, now it's like, you know, it's a common conversation of what's truly happening in this like awakening that we can really see now across the board that's really happening within us as a collective. And I think that's what we all kind of hope for with Pluto and Aquarius. And don't forget, like, we're not done with Pluto and Capricorn. Pluto will move back into Capricorn later this year, going into late summer into the fall, and into a very wild, crazy end of the year. It's going to be the craziest shit we've seen in a long time. So, anyways, I appreciate all of you for being here and sharing this space with me. If you're new here, subscribe to my channel, like this video, find me on Instagram, Spotify. If you want to book a reading with me, the link to my website and all of my platforms are in the description of this video below. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you all on Friday. Peace.